Hello and welcome to Library Grindhouse. The only ticket you need is your library card. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Leah. Today we'll be reviewing the 1990 film Bride of Re-Animator, which is the sequel to the Re-Animator movie
that we just recently covered.
Yeah.
So why not just keep the train rolling?
Why not? Also, it's February.
Yeah, it's kind of got a romance angle to it.
I mean, it has the word bride in it. So.
I mean, the tagline is date, mate, reanimate. I mean, sounds right.
Well, yeah,
I don't know. Whatever. It's tertiarily related to February with Valentine's Day. So, well, why not cover it? It's an excuse.
In the Grindhouse way. So.
Absolutely. It's a Grindhouse love story.
Yeah.
So last we saw Herbert West, he was being attacked by tentacles that had flown out of the back of Dr. Hill in the hospital morgue after being given an overdose of the reanimating agent. So we both wondered, how is there a sequel?
I thought that was like the end of him, or he's just, in the misty beyond that we don't know.
Or it was going to cut to showing him escape, cut off the tentacles with a scalpel that was somewhere laying nearby.
I was thinking he knew he was about to die, so actually put the reagent in himself before he fully died. What would have happened then? That's where my mind was going.
And we're never really going to find out.
No, because
we
doesn't allude to anything. And we get nothing.
It cheats. It cheats.
It definitely cheats. Obviously, he's just a doctor.
Well, first, the severed head of Dr. Hill curses West and says he won't escape this time before maniacally laughing.
Dun, 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 which kind of reminded me of Cortex for some reason in the Crash Bandicoot.
I've never played Crash Bandicoot.
Well, in Crash Bandicoot, there's the evil guy's Cortex, and you just constantly see his big head pop up. He's more than a head. He is a full person, but
gotcha.
You know what I mean? And just when I saw him flying there, I was just instantly thinking, Cortex! I don't know.
And then all of a sudden we're in Peru, South America, to be specific, which I'm like, that's great.
8 months later.
8 months, and 10,000 miles from the Miskatonic Medical School massacre, which was a nice little aside there. I'm like, okay, well, at least they're acknowledging what happened, kind of. So West and Kane are continuing the experiments. I forgot Kane's back, because I have seen this before. It's just been 2 decades. And they continue experience in a brutal civil war. And I'm like, whoa, more connections to the novella, the Lovecraft novella, because they experimented during the war.
I was excited for this because I was just like, oh, so they're just going to start us here. Just boom. But that's not really the case.
Well, but I was I was excited to see the same actors back. That was kind of fun.
Yes.
And I wasn't expecting war action, which I'm like, that's kind of interesting and different. But now they're not just about reanimating the dead. They're about creating new life. So I'm like, oh boy. Okay, so they didn't even do a great job about reanimating the dead.
Yeah.
They've got to up it now.
And that's the thing is they didn't even perfect reanimating the dead. They're just well, we're just going to go on to something bigger and better.
That's it. Escalate.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, I'm sitting here waiting in the short story, I don't know what you would really call
serialized story. I don't know.
But he has a friend's head in the corner that talks after he what I mean? So I'm expecting something like this, but instead we just get a beautiful woman just
Francesca
coming in, which I don't know if
she's like a rebel. I see her being American Cheetah Alonso,
she wasn't
kind of
dressed in uniform,
action heroine of the kind of the time, because this was the late 80s-ish,
but apparently she's from Italy, not in uniform, but she's on the front lines where she said
she's Italian fighting in Peru. She's a Italian Peruvian freedom fighter.
But she wasn't in any fighting gear. She wasn't wearing.
I made assumptions, Leah. I looked at when this movie came out, and I'm like, okay, it's missing in action, Chuck Norris movies, Schwarzenegger movies, all the Rambo 3, going to Afghanistan, all these movies of freedom fighters, and sometimes really kick butt women. And I assumed she was a kick butt female freedom fighter.
I was sort of okay, they just dropped her in, and then she sees West shoot somebody who he tried to reanimate, and it was attacking him or doing its.
Now, granted, they were trying to save this guy, so they're trying to save these people. So they tried to save him. He died, and he's like, ah.
And then he just pulls a gun and shoots him. And Francesca sees this. But she's trying to tell them hey,
we got to get out of here.
Vamos, the front lines didn't hold. They're coming through.
Bad guys are coming. And they do, and West like holds him out. He's like just blowing people away, and I'm just like, Jeffrey Combs, all right, man.
But wait, I need my lizard.
Actually, this is important. I need my iguana, and I'm like,
he like can't leave without his lizard, and then we need this back home.
Because it's the future of everything they're going to do.
And then cutscene though, like it's like.
And scene. He got his lizard.
Why? I was so confused by that whole.
Leah, I've seen the movie, and I'm still not entirely sure why. I guess no, I do. I do know why. I have it in my notes. I have that in my notes. So yes, it does matter, kind of. But anyway, the title sequence is still cool.
Yes, yeah.
It got a little like we need some boobs in this title sequence, but outlined in blue and neon.
I know.
Like so. The first, I guess, the note was, look, we love the title sequence in the first movie. Not sexy enough.
Yeah.
Sex it up a little bit, and
maybe
mission accomplished? ? I mean, and so we have Brian Yuzna behind the helm, and I forgot he directed Society.
Ooh.
Okay. Which we may cover one day here. I've never seen it. I own it, but I've never seen it. And then he also would do Return of the Living Dead 3. Which I remember liking, and it also had a woman with a lot of metal like attachments, accoutrement, like on her hands and like metal claws and stuff. So I was like, oh, cool, he's getting a start on that in this movie. But anyway, so I see that Screaming Mad George is going to help with makeup effects, and he's like a legend. Like I don't know if you've seen like Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Like he's done some gnarly like makeup effects. So I'm like, ooh, cool. So there's going to be some fun things to see in this movie.
Yeah, there was.
And so yeah. So not only are Kane and West doctors now, like they actually got the MD status somehow.
Full blown. In one of my favorite
I mean, is it a Peruvian MD or an American MD? Like, I mean, I don't, I mean, with credentials, I'm not entirely sure. I'm like, how are they not, I don't understand how they got out of what happened. And they're, not only that, but they're allowed to openly practice a Miskatonic.
Yeah.
Like, they're back. I mean, they've got some splaining to do, Leah.
They also have splaining to do because Kane, before it cuts to black, he gets stabbed or he's shot or something happens to him.
It's only a flesh wound. I was almost waiting for him to have to be reanimated or something.
I know. I thought he was going to be reanimated, or else he was going to die.
He's like an Igor character, like bumping into walls, and Wes trying to like get him to do his bidding or something. Like that would have been interesting.
I had never seen this before, and I haven't really looked. I keep on saying literally, and I hadn't looked ahead of the timeline to see if Daniel Kane was in any of the other movies.
There's just the one, but yes.
Is it?
I don't know if he's in it. I don't recall him in it.
So I thought he was going to die, and it was going to like make Herbert West go crazy, and that's why he was going to create a bride because he was lonely and going even more mad. No.
This is not a man looking for a woman or a companion, other than like someone to help with like stuff.
Yeah, no.
I'm not entirely sure why he keeps standing around.
I don't know.
I really don't understand.
He needs a friend. I think he needs someone to like kind of level him out and check him a little bit.
I guess, but I don't think he'd be self-aware enough to actually realize that. And they're not exactly playing it as a he's attracted to Dan situation. I don't really get that because he doesn't. I mean, he kind of rolls his eyes and is like, oh, Dan, don't think with the little head, think with the big head. And like,
But I still feel like he needs that. I feel like he likes having him around, which is why he tries to keep him around by saying various things, like pretty much blackmailing him. Or
I guess, but I wish they would have played a little bit more with that into like, look, I need you, man. Like, you're my friend. Like, I don't know, something where it's like, why do you really need Dan here? Like I don't. He doesn't seem to do anything. Like
he really doesn't, and I don't. I mean,
he's mainly there to be a pain or to like mess things up
you would think that's what Wes would be thinking, but maybe Wes thinks of him as like he pulled him into this world, so now he's got to keep him here. I don't. You know what I mean?
I guess.
I showed you the light. Now I better guide you the rest of the way. I don't know.
But anyway, we get to a cut to a police lieutenant, and he's found Dr. Hill's head as part of a circus sideshow. And so he takes it to Dr. Graves, who's in the pathology department, and so he can look at the rest of the remains.
But I just find it funny how they were like, oh, this is a real human head. Better take it to the hospital. Like, what?
Well, I think they recognized it as a missing piece of the massacre.
I just found it so weird. Like
how many... It's so weird how many body parts go missing, and they do make a comment of that.
They do.
And cut to West.
But also, how does Dr. Hill, or what, right? Dr. Hill?
Yeah.
What was he even doing at, like, a circus side
It's like someone stole the head from the hospital or something and sold it to a freak show or something.
That he had a dent on the side of his head, so he must have been
I guess.
I don't know.
I'm not
I thought
entirely
that he couldn't really die, but he needed more reagent. So,
to be alive, like he's
alive,
not. Yeah, I mean, he kind of like you get the idea he's still there.
Like, do you just sort of dwindle out?
You see from his like that he can like see out of his eyeballs, or he's sensing things.
And he says more.
He also breathes, but that's after he gives him some.
Yeah, so maybe like does it wear off and like you like dwindle down?
No, I think that no matter like even if you're not like flopping around or whatever, like when you have the reagent in you, it slows your rate of decay or stops your rate of decay. Okay. That's why like none of the evidence from the massacre has decayed.
Yeah,
they make a point of that. And we also, around this time, meet Gloria, right? Who's like a terminal patient, I guess, who Kane, that's his obsession with saving her.
I think I know.
Yeah, he gets there, but yeah, he's like his lost love.
Yeah, and you can
projects onto her.
You can kind of do a parallel between like that scene. There's multiple scenes in this movie that parallel Re-Animator. So especially like his bedside scenes with Gloria. It reminds you of like, all of his other bedside scenes where you can tell he just really wants to save this woman. Like she says everything feels really bad except for her head. Her head feels good.
You're right. That part of you's quite well.
You're right, your head's good.
Yeah, and you just see like Wes look at him, and I'm just like, would you get that out of your head? It's like a funny thing now, even though it's disturbing when you really think about it.
But I mean, Wes was examining her, and it's just like, yep, your head's fine.
Yep, your head's fine. Good thing.
Everything else, garbage, dumpster fire. You're a goner, but your head?
Well, and then you hear Kane. I don't know if he like carries her out. They're gonna do some surgery. And even Kane says something to Wes like, get that out of your head. I'm a doctor. And then Wes just goes, well, be a scientist. Yeah. And I thought that was so great. Like, that sums up them two completely. Right. Like, Kane wants to just be a doctor and save lives. And Wes is a doctor in order to be the best scientist because hospitals have all the resources that he needs. Right. So it's just...
Because he was a mortician and it would be too late.
Yeah.
He needs them fresh.
He needs them fresh.
Yeah, exactly. West has obviously been stealing body parts for experimentation, and he finds Megan Halsey's something. It turns out it's her heart.
It's her heart. I thought it was her hand at first. And I was
it's just this little tiny package wrapped up, and I was like, what? I recognize the name, but I was just like, what's going on?
So Megan is, of course, Daniel's late girlfriend who died at the very end of Re-Animator. Spoiler alert. I think I'm supposed to say that beforehand. But.
I hope you watched it anyway. But we'll link to it if you haven't, I guess. But yeah, so the let's see here, and he also Dr. Hill's head he finds and is like, haha.
Yes, and he's like tormenting it, which they did do a really good shot of being inside like the bag that Dr. Hill was in.
He's kind of breathing, and Wes is like, what?
And looking out at it.
Did they hear something? And he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, which is weird because I don't know, keep your enemies close. You know what I mean? Like, how did his head randomly appear back in the hospital and you're just not going to be like, okay, well, you stay there. Everything will be good, dude.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're back. Well, who cares? I mean, he almost just killed me last time, but I guess he was like, you don't have a body anymore, so good luck.
But he knows he has like a mind control ability or something, or maybe he's thinking that he has the only one that has the reagent who would be able to do something. Right. But you need to have plan B, C, and D, and E.
Because we do find out that the lieutenant does see the green liquid, and he's like, this is something Dr. Hill was working on, Dr. Graves says. And like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. That was West. And he's like, I was meaning to test it later today. And I'm like, you've had this for months, dude. I'm just going to test it this afternoon. And I'm just like, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Weird.
Yeah, it was strange. Maybe that's just in order to keep up with the time lapse and them randomly being in war. I don't know.
Yeah, and so on the way out, he makes a date with Francesca, who's still hanging out.
Who's randomly
Italian.
In their hometown now?
I guess she came back with them.
But he was surprised to see her.
I guess.
So
I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
I don't know, but she's a little creepy.
Don't let the little head rule the big head, Dan.
Like that's kind of stalker-ish. She's from Italy. She was with him in the war, and then she travels 10,000 miles, which they made sure to say, back to his hometown to do what? To cook him an Italian dinner. I don't...
Cook him an Italian dinner.
Hope you like garlic.
Hope you like garlic. Which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're hoping for more than dinner, then garlic is not going to be the way to go. Yeah, I mean, unless you're both into that, I guess. But it's just one of those things where Gloria is not going to be love interest.
No.
In a way that this movie would require. So you got to have Francesca for that part of things. So then we go to their home that they share a wall with a crypt like in the novella. I'm like, another connection. I love it. That's so great.
I was excited about that too. You see Wes just like half hanging out of a wall, and he's so excited about it.
Look at this. We share it's like a Ghostbusters fire pole, moment. I'm just like, I'm so excited.
There's
Can
a
you believe
crypt
this?
right here on the other side of the wall, which would freak me out.
So you went into the crypt and
then
coming through the wall? Like, I'm trying to figure out what he must have crawled through that hole and he's crawling back in.
I don't know.
It was just really weird.
And of course, one of his his other train of thought, besides there's a crypt on the other side of the wall, is these bodies are.
150 years of decay, so we can't exactly do anything with them.
Use them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, then why? You'll find out. But still, why?
Yeah, so then we find out that the amniotic fluid from this iguana, this iguana has not evolved in 100 million years. So then they combine that with some other chemicals that results in a reagent that is basically the primordial ooze from which all life emanates. And I'm like, really? I'm not exactly sold. It's a slightly different shade of green. I feel like it's a little bit more of a chlorophyll-y, not a yellow, less yellow. There's less yellow in the mix.
It looked like there should probably be some Ninja Turtles coming in here. And
it did look a little Ninja Turtle-y, but
it definitely looked Ninja Turtle-y.
Different Ninja Turtles movie came out about this time, so
yeah,
why not? So I definitely didn't see that when I was a kid, thankfully. So Wes creates a sculpture out of fingers and an eyeball, and at the same time, Kane is trying to tell him, "I'm moving out, dude. Like this is getting a little bit much."
Which I will say, like when I was watching that, I immediately thought of Thing from the Addams Family.
Oh yeah,
and I was sort of like, "Oh, is that?"
Which wasn't out yet, but it was close.
Cute? Like, is this little, finger eyeball contraption cute?
It seemed a little bit cute.
But it's weird when he's, pushing these metal rods into these fingers and then, sticking an eyeball on top. And it gets kind of gross, but then he brings it to life and it's actually,
it's crawling around. It's like a cute little deal.
Thing.
It's a pretty cool little effect, too. I can't say it looked really cheap looking or anything. It actually was kind of a fun thing. And then to keep Dan around, he reveals that he has Meg's heart and that they can create a new life from her heart.
See, he knows exactly what to say in order to keep Dan. He
always knows what to say. It's crazy. And then he says, the police would never come here, and then the bell rings, and it's the police. And I just love that. I was oh my gosh, that's great. And so then Wes can't find his finger creation.
And you just see it rummaging around in the background.
And right next to the cop, and Dan's just trying to figure this out. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is some great physical comedy right here. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And then the cop ends up accidentally squishing it with a book before he leaves.
So, but none the wiser, but that was really gross when they lifted off the book and you see just the
splatted.
It's like they did vile jelly for the eye. It was gross. Well, and then we go back to Dr. Graves and he is actually distributing the reagent into Mr. West's head.
Okay, so
on his
Dr.
desk.
Hill's head.
Dr. Hill, sorry.
He has him in the vice. Somehow he has the head vice.
Yeah, which I was just like, does everybody have a head? I mean, he's a pathology doctor.
All pathologists always have a head vice.
But he ends up sticking the reagent into his head, which I was just like, why would you automatically be like, yeah, I'll test it out on you?
It is weird.
Isn't that strange?
I guess he assumes that this is something he's working on and that...
But wouldn't you test it out on, if you have no idea what it does, you only know there was a massacre, wouldn't you, get a lab rat? Or a corpse to see what happens. No, he just automatically
He's a doctor,
goes...
not a scientist. I don't know. And plus, we need this plot to move on.
That is true.
I mean...
But he automatically goes for that. He ends up... No, sorry. He doesn't do the... He does the bat.
Oh, yeah, he does the bat first. So he does do an animal. Leah...
He does do an animal. I'm sorry. I forgot
about that.
Yeah,
he has the dissected. And of course, the bat's partially dissected. Why is he partially dissecting a bat?
I don't know. And it was really sad. The fact that it was pinned down and reanimated.
But it was a really cool puppet. It was better done than the cat.
It's true. Well, that's what I mean. It's a parallel of the cat, of the reanimated cat in the first one, running around downstairs. So you see Dr. Graves chasing around this bat.
Yeah.
And once he finally catches it, he cuts its wings off, which was so sad again.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dr.
why?
Graves gets through this. I'm like, dude, you can't cut the wings off a bat and be cool with it. It's a cute bat. It's so sweet.
I don't understand.
It didn't deserve that.
But yeah, and then
he does Hill's head. That's right.
Yeah,
he realizes what it does.
This is where they talk. This is where they run into Francesca.
Oh, there. Oh, my bad. Okay.
No, cool. That's why I was getting. Okay, so anyway, and then you have the random police station where Francesca's at the police station, right?
Is she at the police station?
Yeah, they have random bodies at the police station, and they're talking to her because he shows her his wife.
No, he takes her to the asylum.
Oh yes, to the asylum.
The asylum where the other, like, you realize where the other people from the massacre are, like they're here and like
because he sees Francesca following them around. So this police officer is following around Kane and Wes the entire time, trying to scoop what's going on. He knows that they are connected somehow to the massacre.
Well, this is where we find out that his wife was one of the people brought back, and so he's like, my wife was dead.
I know.
Like, I'm just like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, he knows for sure because, yeah, we find out later, spoiler, he killed her. And it's just like, oh my gosh, that's quite a twist. But it's one of those things where since he knew she was dead for sure, like, he knows something's going on. What the heck is going on? And I don't think he's really got his cop pants on right now. I think he is now, we know he's totally in vendetta / whatever mode at this point.
Exactly. So there are still, it looks like there's 3 of the reanimated corpses that were in the basement that are now in this asylum.
Yes, in the California, basically.
That we know of. And they did say, they made note of, all these people had death certificates.
Right.
But they are right here. And Francesca is still trying to be like, well, maybe the hospital messed up.
Sure, hospitals make mistakes, but that's when he points out, that's my wife.
That's
and it's
not
just
a
like,
mistake.
yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, and then you come to find out that, like, how at the very end of Re-Animator, you hear Megan's screams. You find out that it didn't fully work, and that
Kane was found with her in his arm.
With her twitching body in her arms, which I was just like, but all of them were twitching, and they all came back to life somehow. So did he not have enough?
Was
like
it
they kind of
failed? Like did he not give enough? Like he gave plenty. Like
yeah, they kind of just left out everything.
That apparently she didn't make it. For whatever reason, she didn't make it. Like the dean obviously got torn apart, so he wasn't there. Obviously, the Meg was, I guess, just didn't make it. But she had reagents, so her heart was salvaged. Only her heart was left. Like. Makes no sense that you cut out the heart and leave just that as evidence when the rest of her was apparently still around.
I mean, maybe they had the rest of her, like, cut up. Like, they did an autopsy on her because she was twitching.
But you don't, like, vivisect and then, we'll keep the heart.
That's what I mean. I don't understand. If she had the reagent in her, then wouldn't all of her other body parts not be able to decompose fully as well?
Right.
Unless
it makes little to no sense, but just for the purpose of this film, basically.
But this is when you find out that, like, they walk downstairs and you see everything. You see that they are Frankensteining a woman down in their lab.
They talked about their feet earlier. The feet were missing. The ballerina that basically her ankles got broken or something.
No, that's how she committed.
Oh, she cut off her own feet because she couldn't shag it anymore as a ballerina. She lost her mojo or something, and so. Yeah, and then he's salvaged by the legs of a prostitute.
So
it's just like really creepy.
It's really weird, and they have like these like tubes sticking out of the Frankenstein lady.
Well, it's like they gotta like sew together the parts, but they gotta make sure like they're connected because the blood has to flow through it.
The circulation, it was really weird.
And there's like metal bracing on like the wrists and hands.
And they're not all put together, and it's just strange the fact that they are doing this right when Francesca is about ready to come over and cook Kane dinner, and he's downstairs trying to put tubes in a dead body to recirculate her blood and turn her into a Bride of Frankenstein type person.
Have they solved the head problem yet?
No. Okay, she is still headless. But West is talking to him because she's going to have Megan's heart, and he's trying to lure him in.
Yeah, that basically, no matter what, she's going to have Meg's heart.
Yeah.
Meg's heart's going to be powering all of this. We're going to try, for the first time, to inject in the heart and not the brain, and the heart will circulate the reagent through the whole body is kind of the idea there.
So, they're going to do this, and then all of a sudden, Francesca shows up. She brings her dog. Instantly, I was like, why?
I thought it was going to be like some physical comedy of the dog finding an arm and grabbing it and hauling it around and them trying to get the arm from the dog. I was waiting for that to happen, or like one of the creatures, like the abominations they make, like the dog barking at it or sniffing it out. I figured the dog was going to sniff it out and there's going to be more of a physical comedy thing with the dog.
It didn't happen.
I'm sorry, Leah. I felt so bad with how things go with the dog.
I was so sad. I'm
sorry, Leah. I saw that last night and I was like, no, Leah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You have Francesca, she's cooking dinner, and then you go downstairs, the shot to West playing with the feet,
Well, he's tickling the foot.
Yeah, he's like messing with reagent, so there's like a foot.
Because they brush it with reagent. You don't use too much. You use enough to like cause it to be pliable enough to connect or whatever.
But it's like a weird well, he's connecting. He's playing with body parts, you find out. So he's connecting a foot with an arm.
Yeah.
And he's like tickling the foot, and I was just like, this is like kind of sensual in a very strange way.
I think he gets a kick out of the fact that it's ticklish.
I know,
but it seems ticklish, but it's not connected to anything.
It's so
weird. Kind of wild.
Yeah.
The idea of it's just fascinating. It's that's kind of funny.
And then I love the fact that it like attacks him as always.
Right.
And what does he do? He just throws it in a garbage can. And I'm like, it's a foot and an arm. It could literally just pop right back out. It has like every appendage that it needs to hop, to push, to.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think he ends up.
Expensive.
West ends up seeing Kane and Francesca canoodling, for lack of a better word, and I think he gets jealous, and I think that's sort of like another hint.
I was trying to see is he jealous or is it just like Kane You're letting this eat into your science time, man. Again, think with the big head, not the little head, man.
That is true. That is very West.
Of just dude, business. Look, I'm going down to get stuff done here. We are building something new, and you're just frolicking.
That is true.
I got that more of a vibe because he had his tie on, and it's like, I'm ready to get to work, dude, and you're laying in bed. Come on, man.
What are you doing? But he goes upstairs because there's someone knocking at the door. Who's knocking at the door? The police officer again, because he cannot seem to leave him alone. Half of me thinks that he is checking on Francesca because he surely followed her there. But anyway, the police officer ends up downstairs in the basement.
Well, the police officer didn't knock on the door. The police officer was there, right?
Oh, maybe he just opened the door.
Down, and the police officer was just there, not even in the house. He didn't knock. He has no warrant. He has no reason to be allowed in the house. I'm surprised. Other than he could physically overpower him and has a gun. That West was not get out. You don't have a warrant. I'm surprised he didn't even have the line of you have no warrant.
That's
you have
true.
Nothing. I have not invited you into my home right now.
I just remember seeing him open up a door and the police officer was there. So was that the front door? Or was he just in the house? Was
I got the idea he was just in the house.
It could have been, yeah.
But anyway, either way, police officer's in the house. He forces his way down to the basement. West tries to get in front of him. He's still shoved aside.
And that's when you find out that the officer not fully confesses, but says that he definitely knows that his wife was dead. And West just fires at him, yeah, I know that she was dead too. What was it? She had multiple contusions on her head. She was beaten and bashed and kind of poking the police officer I know what you did.
Right.
I was there. She was beaten to death by her husband. You. So one thing that we forgot to point out was that West created this weird, almost chloroform-like thing, but
he used to kill the iguana that simulates a heart attack.
So they're super fresh, so it doesn't mess with anything in their system, doesn't mess with their circulation or whatever. So he does this to the police officer, and I love the fact that, of course, Kane comes down, sees it all, freaks out. It's a police officer now this time.
Yeah,
with the Dr. West.
Oh my gosh, some people are gonna look for him.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's
here, help me with this, and he injects him right there, right?
Yep, and I love the fact that he's a wife beater, Dan, use the gun. He's trying to shout at Dan, every possible thing, this guy hurt his wife, so whatever you do is the proper thing to do.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So yeah, but he injects the police officer straight into his heart. Because then he goes back, he backpedals, because Mr. West is super smart, and starts telling Dan oh no, but we don't want to chance it on Meg's heart first. We should test it on somebody else to make sense of his wrongdoing. West is good at that.
He is a master manipulator. And so the cop gets up. Yeah.
Yep, the cop gets up and ends up locking himself into the top of the house, and Francesca is still there, so he ends up going crazy, and that's when we get the horrid
dog attacks him, and then he throws the dog against the wall and kills it.
And rips his leg off somehow. And I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, he rips the dog's leg off, so he's running around with a dog leg. And he runs outside, and he's trying to open up the door with the dog leg in it, and then he ends up sticking the dog leg in his mouth.
Man, I need to stop watching these on my phone because I miss all these little details.
It's so weird. But yes, the dog dies. So Wes comes upstairs. And
grabs the dog immediately.
Yeah, and of course Dan and Francesca, Francesca's freaking out. Not even about her dog. Just what just happened? And Wes just picks up the dog and he was like, well, you need to handle her. And then just walks downstairs.
It's just as a matter of fact, just take the dead body, my purview. All right.
She's hysterical.
And he's just like, okay, bye. So then all of a sudden you see in the middle of the night, Francesca just stays there, I guess. And she wakes up to these dogs barking,
so
to a
she
dog
goes
barking,
downstairs.
and she goes downstairs.
West opens the door, and right there.
Yeah, and West is like, you shouldn't be down here. And all of a sudden her dog, whose name's Angel, by the way, just like peeks her head out. So she's like, Angel. And when she goes to pet it, an arm pops
Shake.
up.
I just love it. It said shake. I realized well after I watched the movie. Oh my gosh, it was like a shake doggy, like kind of joke, like there's a human hand attached to the dog.
So he's doing these experiments. But I wish they would have gone further with that because I feel like it would have been so funny just to see this dog with like a human hand hoppling around.
That would have been very expensive, Leah.
It would have been, but yeah.
I'm happy with how much they've done. Like, there's a lot of makeup effects in this movie. It could not have been terribly cheap. Like,
it's true.
I mean, and it was a pretty well shot film too. So I mean, I am pleasantly surprised at how many effects there are in this film, which I always thought was a direct-to-video thing. So.
But yeah, and that's like the end of it that you see the dog. Like literally,
there's no more
it
dog,
attacks
really.
Francesca, and then that's the end of it. So I don't really know what happened to said dog.
I really don't know what happened to Angel. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. But anyway, then, you go back to all of a sudden we're at the hospital and we're with Gloria again. And this is another parallel where you see Dan just like talking to Gloria, saying how much he cares for her,
helped
essentially.
to like project Meg onto you. And as soon as he says that, she flatlines. And he just kind of hangs for a second because he's out to lunch or whatever. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh, no.
And he
like,
doesn't even do like chest compressions,
he starts
right?
To,
oh, I
and
didn't
then he
see
calls
that.
for
I
the
just
nurse
saw
to bring the paddles, and like he's like immediately it's a callback, and then Wes is like, no, too late, we got to open her up, and I'm like, are you trying to kill her for sure?
I didn't understand why he did that, and
but
I
then
was like,
Dan like can't handle it, and he accidentally cuts off center and winds up cutting an artery, and Wes like has to like shut down the artery,
and there's like, blood squirting everywhere, and Wes' hands are just covered in blood.
And
it's really sad.
Bringing her back.
But during all of this, I mean, you obviously know what's kind of going to happen here.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and I don't know if I guess he's cut off her head because basically calls the attendant who's going to take her down to the morgue. They basically put her in like a thing that's like
casket. It's like a weird looking casket.
Well, it's a stretcher, and they lock it down with something where it's like, so I guess that no one can actually get a looky-loo of like
what's in
the body because it's like cut open or whatever. So I think it's mainly like for privacy that they lock this thing on top of it. And it's like, okay, take it to pathology, right? No, the crematorium. Like, because obviously he's taking the head off of it.
And Wes is like, no, I have the head part. So you can tell, like, he cut off the head and he doesn't want anybody to know about it.
Right, and that's,
So he's pretending, I don't know what he's holding. He had to have fashioned something, but like pretending it's a head. But yeah, and he tells the guy, take it down to the crematorium. No, like, I don't need anybody to see this body. But Kane doesn't know that.
Right.
So this is all new.
It's all going to be a surprise to Kane because Kane had nothing to do with it. It was all West.
Yep. And then all of a sudden we go back to Dr. Graves, and he's there, and now he's starting to drink out of test tubes, and he's like freaking out, and he has Dr. Hill's head, and he's reanimating it, and he's messing with it. And then he's talking about how West took his body and all of this stuff. Dr. Hill is so upset about West.
And he tries to control Dr. Graves. Graves isn't having it. He's like, nah, this is not how this is going to work.
So then...
He's like, don't make me call whatever. And so he telepathically calls the people in the asylum, right?
Yeah, he telepathically calls people in the asylum and the police officer.
Yes.
But before that, he bites Dr. Graves, which I'm like, you're a head. Why are you biting the person that is
Why is it in Graves' hand right there?
Yeah, that's true.
I was kind of like, what do you do? And then he puts an apple in the mouth, which I thought was great.
And throws him away
puts him in the trash
can.
Yeah.
You're in a hospital that has a crematorium in it. Like, why would you just throw this like talking head in a trash can and hope nobody hears it or sees it or messes with it? Or
I have no idea. I thought it was kind of funny.
So weird. Yeah. So anyway, then we cut back to Weston Kane's little happy cottage, and downstairs in the basement they're by the Frankenstein setup, and this is where Wes shows Kane
Gloria's head. Yeah.
He shows him the head, and he's like trying to talk like lovingly about this body.
Yeah,
like,
the feet of the ballerina, the legs of the prostitute. How many legs people admitted she wrapped her legs around? I'm just like, what are you doing, Wes? Like the womb of a virgin. I'm just like, what is happening?
You're talking about how like soft their skin is. I'm like,
soft and warm, because Kane said that. I'm like, how did you know Kane said that? I mean, I guess you were kind of outside the door, but I was just like, dude.
Yeah, and then like the judge's hand.
Oh yeah, it was like a killer's hand. It was killer hands, right? Killer's
I thought it was a judge's hand, and then they didn't know whose hand it was.
I thought it could have been a killer. So it could have been a killer's hand or something like that, like the hand of a killer. I'm just like,
I don't know.
It was really crazy, but the heart of Meg and then the head of Gloria, and it was just like
it was too many parts, and it was really
really
weird.
wild, dude. Like,
and you hear Kane saying something like, "Do you hear rats in the walls?" Yeah. And West is like, "Oh no, it's nothing. It must not be nothing," or. Like he just completely.
Why he just dismisses it? Because I guess he wants like Dan focus.
Yeah.
For once in your life, focus. Look at this thing. Like, and Dan winds up getting super sold on this thing.
Oh,
like
it's so
they sew it together. They put it in the reagent,
and they have like these reagent patches. Like, because they're kind of separated from the skin, so I don't know what they were trying to. Are they like skin grafts? Like
I think it's like they're like it's gonna like wrap around, like it's gonna graft through this, like it's something that's attaching it, and the reagent's gonna help like get the muscles alive and everything to attach itself. Like it's gonna know what to do.
I don't know, but it was weird. And then they like covered her in like this shroud as well.
Yeah, I mean,
like a veil,
a modesty, relative, kind of a modesty shroud to a degree.
To a degree, yeah.
It's and she has like metal scaffolding on parts and stuff, which looks kind of cool.
It looks cool, but I was just like, why does that need to be there if you're...
Well, like the wrists and stuff are kind of delicate, and I could imagine that until like it really grafts in, that she could fall apart.
That's
which,
true.
I mean,
yeah.
Spoiler alert. Happens.
But and then all of a sudden we hear there's a knock at the door. You know, right after they put the reagent in, they're waiting. It's been past 3 minutes, and they're like, "What's taking so long?" And there's a knock at the door. So of course I'm thinking it's the
West
police
immediately
officer.
just
but
goes
he just
to the
bolts,
door, like,
which was
I'm
weird.
just like, dude, like,
I thought that West wouldn't want to leave that. Like,
I'm like,
this is my experiment.
Ignore it. This is science. Like,
yeah.
that Dan would have to go answer the door or something.
But he still walks up and there's a box just sitting outside of
I'm
his
like,
door.
yes!
Which is
the last callback.
Yep, it is exactly like the
Come
story,
on.
except it was a suitcase in the story.
Oh, Leah, you're
still.
splitting hairs. Come on, it was awesome.
a
Like,
box.
you did it, guys. You did it. You're like almost have everything
It's
in it.
true.
Like, between these two movies, I'm like, you almost have done it all. Like,
It is very true. They did a good job. And he opens up the box, and I love the fact that there's like packaging
peanuts.
peanuts.
You will treat my head with care.
Yeah. And then like you see the eyeball.
More peanuts.
You see the eyeball of Dr. Hill in there.
Yeah, the peanut.
And then all of a sudden he just like
flies out because he has bat wings.
But
oh,
you
the
don't
bat wings.
see that.
I forgot he cut off the bat wings.
He cut off the bat wings.
Oh, yeah.
So it had to have been like he made some body
He must
do
have told the body to graft those onto him.
But you don't see the bat wings. So I mean, I didn't at first.
I mean, the effect was not awesome.
I just saw like this head, and I was like, how did his head just fly out of there? Like it looked like
I then had a memory that he had the bat wings.
I didn't, and I was like, did they like attach like a spinal cord? And he's like whipping through the air like a helicopter.
That would have been even better.
I was like, what are they doing?
Woo!
You just see like this like. It looked like they threw a beach ball and filmed the shadow of it against the wall of it flying. And Wes doesn't. I mean, he knows it's Dr. Hill. He saw his eye.
Right.
But like now, it's just like the head of Dr. Hill is somewhere in the house. So it's almost got this like comedy sketch feel because all of a sudden they're Franken Gloria, Franken Meg, whatever you want to call her. Like starts to rise. Or not rise. She wakes up, and then Kane like helps her, which is weird because you'd think that you'd want her to do everything on her own for the first time.
Oh, but Kane's a gentleman.
But he helps her, and like at first I thought he stood her up, and she was like 6 foot tall, but she stepped down off of something, and I'm like, they created a huge woman. I was cracking up because he spent so much time talking about the prostitute's legs, and I was like.
A basketball player's legs.
Wes was trying to be funny. Really, it wasn't.
Oh,
but it's almost like one of those things, an imprint happened type ordeal because she woke up and the first thing that she saw was Dan.
Right.
So.
Well, and Wes technically made her for him, kind of, or that was kind of his thing. Like,
yeah.
And Dan started to, like, he's really trying to buy in that she is his, that she is Meg, she is Gloria, she is these women that he cares about and that he can love her.
And it's almost like it's like so deeply ingrained in his mind that
he's really trying to sell himself. And the actor does a decent job of like internalizing, like, I am trying to be smitten with you.
Yeah.
And like, it ain't working.
No. And she's got like these weird, the actress does a good job at playing Franken. I
Gloria.
shouldn't say that because it's really not Frankenstein, but it kind of.
Frankenstein's monster. I mean, Yeah, I mean, she does a good job of playing that whole bride thing. Her hair's a little bit crazy, but they don't need to rip off the iconic, Bride of Frankenstein hair or anything. Like, and I don't remember what's the next thing, because Wes does come down and she's like, "You made me," and then Wes is like, "I made you."
Yeah, he gets really upset, like, "I made you," and then all of a sudden, Francesca just shows up. Again.
And she's just like, what's going on?
She's like, what is this? Then she sees this other, like, Franken woman all over her man.
Yeah, and then, but she's not upset, like, weirdly, like, I don't understand that whole aspect. She's not freaking out about, like, any of it. She's not freaking out that Dan is, like, looking kind of adoringly at this creation and that he's ignoring her, and she's also, that there's this creature here. Like, she's very nonplussed.
Yeah, but it's weird too because she actually is coming in there to tell them that there's like a zombie
horde
coming, or like all the other reanimated people are coming.
She's kind of like, again, she's the person who has to be like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah,
like they're coming. Like
she's trying to tell them to get out, and all of a sudden you hear like they put a casket in front of the door, which I thought was kind of fitting.
I'm like, you have one of those in there? Like, you're not into burying things, but okay.
Okay, but yeah, and then all of a sudden I love the fact that he goes, they're using tools.
My God, they're using tools.
Oh no! Like he's genuinely freaked out that they're using tools.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I'm just like
reanimated. It's almost one of those 2001: A Space Odyssey type thing. I was just thinking like I gave them life and now they're using tools. Like one of those.
Yeah, it's like we're in trouble now. But well, the thing is though, in 2001, the Monolith wanted us to use tools. Like that was its goal. Like the whole Monolith thing was evolving us.
He did not want us to use tools.
No, he does not. It's like Day of the Dead, where it's all of a sudden like Bub the zombie can like use a gun now, and it's like,
but
that's a problem.
I have in my notes that all of a sudden West is a huge narcissist. He goes on this rant. No, I did know it, but he goes on this rant about how he created life and almost like he's better than...
He made life. Well, because God failed. I took God's failures. Because Francesca's like talking about like these are blasphemy. He's like, blasphemy what God or whatever. Like God's, these are all God's failures and I've taken them and I've made life. I've made a success out of this.
Yeah,
like
he is literally pretty much saying that he is better.
Yeah, I'm God 2.0 or something. And it's like, dude,
just like, who could ever tolerate themselves and have that sort of argument with any
I think there are people, but
man, that's even more. That's
I'm like so. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But then all of a sudden, you start to see that Dan does not like.
Yeah,
Frank
he's
and
like,
Gloria,
he tries to let her down gently.
He tries to.
Like, I don't love your body.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's not you, it's your body.
It's your body, and then he calls her...
I love your mind, like your spirit.
He calls her a monster, and that's what really does it.
And then she's like, and rightfully, she just like...
What do you want?
What do you want?
Yeah,
it was just like, wow, that's actually kind of a powerful moment.
Yes, and then she ends up taking her heart.
Is this what you want? She rips her heart out.
Rips her heart out because it's Meg's heart.
And like, is this what you want?
Yeah, and he's just like, you're not Meg. Meg is dead. And it clicks with him finally. Like, yes, all these people are dead. This is just some other
And it's like, Francesca, you are warm, you are soft. And it's just like, what? I mean, it's just like, dude, you're just...
And then after all of this, the horde finally breaks through. Everyone is fighting off each other.
Yeah, I'm just like,
it's like Frank and
out
Gloria
of this?
trying to fight Francesca, and the officer's trying to fight Francesca, and everything. And then all of a sudden, Frank and Gloria starts fighting herself. And just splits apart.
Yeah, she just falls apart. Like her head falls backwards. Like it's wild. It's a pretty cool effect.
Crazy.
Like,
but I was like, did she purposefully want to do that? Was
I
that
actually purposely just was like, I give up.
I'm rejecting.
Well, Herbert West has to like say out loud, like, it's tissue reject. Note this, Dan. Pick out a pencil and paper. Note this, please. Tissue rejection. I'm just like, dude. Yeah. Come on, man.
He doesn't break character. He is him. He is fully Herbert West. And then this is the best part. In my notes, I just have ha 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 in huge letters. where we finally see Dr. West with bat wings on his head.
Hill. Dr. Hill.
Dr. Hill. Oh, sorry, I keep doing that. But Dr. Hill.
I mean, Jeffrey Combs with wings would be great. But yeah, Dr. Hill with the wings. We get the full-on wing effect.
Wings on his head.
It's awesome.
And I am dying laughing because he did that to himself. Well, or he had some
he has
other
no body anymore.
reanimate
So
do it
this
to
allows
himself.
him to be like, he doesn't have to have someone holding his head. Like he can actually fly around.
But I'm just cracking up laughing, and then they end up pulling everybody into the crypt, which we find out that that's where Dr. West has been keeping all of his monsterly creations that he's been sewing together. So, like, you see people with, like, spider legs, but, like, 6 legs, human legs attached.
Right, all these really weird things he's
even
been sewing
animal,
together.
like, weird creations.
It's nuts,
so he's been keeping them in that crypt, just, like, in the dark. Stay down here, Mike, which is weird. That's sort of like another narcissistic, like, these are my creations.
I can't just terminate them. I have to,
Which is weird because he doesn't have like that. He just threw away the arm leg thing.
Yeah, I was like, that's weird. I don't know how. For a second, I thought it was Dr. Hill had created these things.
Yeah.
But that didn't make any sense either. So I guess it's West. Yeah, West has just been tucking them through that hole in the wall.
Just pushing them through the hole. Just
okay, here you into the crypt.
I created you. Goodbye.
And so, the fight gets crazy. Like, they're banging against the walls, and apparently that's enough to, like, cause the crypt to cave in.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everybody seems to have died or be trapped in the crypt.
I mean, West gets pummeled by stones and covered with stones and, like, the sepulchre lid and, like, all this, like, stuff. I'm like, okay, so West isn't get out of this one, right? And then Kane and Francesca are able to dig themselves out somehow.
Which is so weird because they come out of the ground with nothing. Like, it's like...
Like, the crypt is, like, gone.
Yeah, there's, like, nothing.
There's just dirt.
Just dirt, and then you see a hand poke through the dirt.
How?
And then he just reaches down in there and grabs another one, and it's Francesca who's passed out anyway.
I don't know. Now, I did enjoy the cop's wife beating on her husband.
Yes, like that is funny.
I was like, yes, you go. Like, but then she stops, I guess. And then she does it again later. Like, I'm like, so... You have a love-hate thing where it's like sometimes you're like along with him in all this, and then sometimes you're like, but you killed me, and like, I don't know. Because in the crypt, she turns on him again, right?
Yeah. Maybe like when she gets enraged, she just thinks of how she died or something, so then she goes towards him.
I don't know. I almost need to watch Beyond Re-Animator now just to be like, okay, so how does he get out of this?
But
like,
I was going to say, Jeffrey Combs is in Beyond Re-Animator.
Yeah.
So...
it's going to be just another like,
well,
10 years later and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it was a close scrape.
They don't have, the only thing like they had was Meg's heart. They had a close-up on Meg's heart at the end. And it shrank down. Like it like...
Yeah, and it was...
deflated.
Is that definitive? Like, I guess it's definitive, like that this part of things is over?
Yeah, like I didn't know why they felt the need to have that.
Because was that the last shot?
Yeah.
I just remember. Okay, that was the last shot of the movie? Yeah.
And I was just like, why does that have to be the last shot? Is that like...
I think it's like Dan is done with all this.
Okay.
I think it's like, and this is like the last thing that was holding Dan to this was like he needed to let go of Meg and he couldn't. And that's what led to like that Frankenstein monster being created.
So is he, the person who plays Dan, is he in the last
I don't think so.
Re-Animator movie? So maybe that is like his tell to like skedaddle. You can now get away from West, even though West is apparently dead. Maybe?
He's not, because we have a third movie. But yeah, so the cast is different in the third one other than Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
But I guess he's working on it in a prison. So I don't know, maybe someday we'll cover that one, but not right now. Well, those were our thoughts on Bride of Re-Animator. Now here's Clucifer with your clue for the next film we will be covering.
Clucifer here. Your clue for the next film is fall in love with Jason all over again.
Thanks, Clucifer. For Live at Grindhouse, I'm Jesse.
And I'm Leah.
And we'll see you later this week with our reveal episode.
Bye.